So hello everybody and welcome to the IIHF Skills4All session. In the next two webinars, we will present on development playing formats. First, we had a great 3-on-3 event at the 2020 Youth Olympic Games in Lausanne. And second, the Finnish and Swedish Federation conducted joint research on development playing formats. So let's start today with the development playing formats. For today, we have a great group of speakers, and it's a great pleasure to introduce, as they say in order of appearance, Aku Nieminen, Nicola Marbach, Tuula Puputi, Joel Hansen, and Tomi Bachvarov. Welcome, and thank you for accepting our invite to be a presenter. To kick off, we start with Mr. Aku Nieminen. Currently, he's the head of ice hockey at Virumäki. Aku was involved in the development of the 3-on-3 project, as well as in operating the event at the Youth Olympic Games in Lausanne. Aku, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Johan. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so hello everyone, and greetings from Finland. First of all, we had a baby girl 6 days ago, so if I happen to fall asleep during my talk, that's because of the sleep deprivation and all of that fun. But I have a good amount of coffee with me, so I'm sure I'll survive. Just a bit of my role is just to give a bit of background on how the project went and how did we come about to play 3-on-3 in Lausanne in 2020, and it all really started in the summer of 2016 when Dave Fitzpatrick came to my office, and Dave had some meetings with the IOC, and the IOC created this Youth Olympic Games version 2.0, where they wanted more athletes, less medal sports, but more athletes, and that took us to the discussion that maybe the skills challenge that had been there for 2 Youth Olympic Games that we of course very much liked, that with the limited number of athletes there, we wanted to come up with something bigger. And then we started discussing the possibility of playing 3-on-3 cross ice in the Youth Olympic Games. And initially the idea was that we would just do it as a demonstration sport. So really showcase small area games. But then when we had the meetings with the IOC, they also got quite a bit excited, and all of a sudden we had a medal sport in our hands, and that of course changed the nature of the project. So because it became a medal sport, it became very much official. There was the competitive side to it, and that influenced the process. But since then we started the design, and while we of course wanted to create a format that is for the Youth Olympic Games, we wanted to keep the rest of the world in mind and really come up with a concept for development and offer something for the member national associations to benefit from as well. And in a nutshell, I was thinking about it today that we wanted to transfer pond hockey into a competitive environment, and that really carried through. And I was also thinking about what was it that we wanted to, and really, of course, we shall keep in mind that we were creating a competition for the Youth Olympic Games, and I already mentioned that there were a ton of different requirements. There was the competitive side to it, qualifications required, all of that. But we did have a lot of other goals. So as I said, we really wanted to showcase and promote small area games, not only 3-on-3 cross ice, but in general, small area games, because we all know that those contribute tremendously to the development of the players. And we thought that this is our true opportunity to show the world that how much action you get when you have the small area games. We wanted to create a format that could be used by everyone. So whereas the Youth Olympic Games was a big show with great in-house entertainment, we wanted to create it as close as possible to a format that anybody could apply in the world and address, for example, the limited ice issue that many countries face. We wanted to emphasize skill. So of course we love good body checks and the physical part of the game, but we wanted to offer an alternative and emphasize more technical and tactical skills, but basically good hands. And for that reason, quite early in the process, we decided not to have body checking. And with that said, we wanted to create a format that was really for all. So in a way, grandpas can play against granddaughters type of thing. So without the body checking, we thought that we come up with a format that can be played by anyone regardless of age or gender, and you could really mix things up. And lastly, we just really wanted to think outside the box. So we didn't want to compete with the normal hockey, more so embrace it, but start from a white piece of paper and really think outside the box, in the sense that how would we do this while it's being serious but sort of festive, keeping that pond hockey side in mind. But with that said, then we kept building. We had numerous meetings, of course, with the organizing committee and the IOC, but we also had a work group going on. Many of the people that are talking in this session were involved, and we piloted a couple of times. So we used Vierumäki for those purposes, right after one camp, during one camp, and again right after one camp. And we just went wild. We tested all kinds of things. So power play, we had two against 0, or 3 against 1, and on the shootouts we tested everything. We just tried everything we could possibly come up with, and along the process we decided to change things, maybe also a bit for the entertainment side, but we decided that we're going to have music playing at all times, which is completely contrary to the normal game. We wanted to have 2 games going on at the same time, and of course that brought a bunch of challenges concerning the game clock, but really that when people would come and watch it, they could choose, are they watching 2 games or are they watching 1, or really give a dynamic experience through that. We decided to give penalties for the teams. So instead of pointing out an individual that had a rule violation, we really shifted it to the next shift, and it was more so that smaller penalties anyways would cause your team to suffer and not the individual to be out. Another priority was really game flow. So we wanted to cut the whistles as much as possible, and the markings on the ice, we didn't really have face-off dots. We just wanted, whenever there was a need for a face-off, we just wanted the puck immediately back to play and keep it going. If there was a goal scored, they would back off and we'd get the game going again. So all in all, it was quite a project, a lot of meetings, but then I would say the end result really exceeded all expectations, that we really did our utmost best building it. But I don't think any of us realized how good it was at the end, and what we experienced in Lausanne in January 2020. But that's it for my little intro. I'll stick around, and if there's any questions at the end, I'll be more than happy to answer those. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Aku. A great introduction. If you have questions, we mentioned it, you can use the chat box, and then we can pass the question forward. Our next speaker is Mr. Nicola Marbach. Nicola is currently Youth Sport Program Developer and Subsidy Manager Lecturer at Swiss Federal Institute of Sport, but he was also involved in the development and the operation of the 3-on-3 event. Nicola will give us an insight about a 3-on-3 format. Nicola, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Johan, and thank you, Aku, for this good introduction. I will certainly come back to several points you already mentioned, and yes, also from my side, thank you for having me here. It was a a really awesome project to work for, and it's special to be part of this group. It was sometimes not that easy to get the right decisions at the right time, and to think outside of the box to create this new format. So I will guide you through the format, and I will start by recapitulating the 3-on-3 format to show you a bit how it's played. I will then focus on certain rules and explain the thoughts behind those rules. This should give you a better understanding of the format and what we wish to achieve by creating it. And after this format introduction, we will focus on Lausanne 2020 Youth Olympic Games. I will present the success factors of this event, and then go into the key takeaways. The outcome of the 3-on-3 format, the way it was played, match our expectations, and how was the reaction on the played event, and most importantly, what did we took out of this event. So we will quickly look at the field of play, the team composition, then the line composition, game duration, line rotation, and the stoppage of play, and how we handle penalties. So the game is played in the end zones of a normal ice rink. It's played cross ice. As such, 2 games can be played simultaneously, and this is a simple but major upside of the format. So you can double the usage of the ice sheet by having 4 teams playing at the same time. And of course, this grows in importance the less ice sheets you have, and the less ice availability you have in your region. And with this format, you can really get a lot of kids in the game action on 1 sheet of ice. And given that there are no boards at the blue line of a normal ice rink, temporary ice rink boards were used, and this to separate the 2 fields, and the field from the neutral zone where we situated the players and the players bench and the stick racks, etc. But is this really necessary to have those boards? It's not. I mean, it's a nice to have. It's an Olympic tournament level of nice to have to get those hard boards and set it up neat and nicely. But honestly, you can really forget about those boards. You can just imagine yourself what you can use to do this temporary boards. You can use just the normal softboard dividers. You can build it your own with some metal planks or even wooden logs, or the simplest way, you just use a thick rod and just lay it on the ice. So there's no excuse. If you have an ice sheet and pucks and 4 goals, then you just need a rod, and then you can go off and play this format. If we go to the team composition as we had it in Lausanne, we decided to create teams with 13 athletes. As many of you know, there was an athlete qualified through the National Skills Challenge, and those athletes were then kind of drafted to the respective teams. And this was done according to the qualification time they achieved in the Skills Challenge. And when we created the teams, the only rule was to have only 1 athlete per nation in a team. Of course, we had some organizational reasons behind it, like creating daily schedules for every team member, or producing name bars and getting the right jersey size. But the biggest driver was the fact that we did not know what kind of player material we would get. So with athletes out of over 40 nations, we had to make sure that teams were equally strong, and that somehow we had teams that could compete against each other. So we decided to use the National Skills Challenge to make the team composition. Then once on site, we had the IIHF assigned coaches who put the players in lines, and the lines were according to their skill level. So we had the best skaters in the first line, and then so on and so on, with 3 skaters in the first line and 4 skaters in the third and second line. So the thought behind this was to have matched skill levels in the same line. So also here, with players from over 40 nations, we really didn't know what we would get, if the discrepancies were big or not. So this was a way to really have a competitive game and have competitive lines playing against each other. So for you guys, if you organize such a tournament, do you have to do it like this? And it's no, you can surely do it differently. We had 11 skaters and 2 goaltenders because the YOG was played in a period of 1 week, up to 2 games per day. So therefore we needed a minimum of extra players if in case of injuries, and so we had 4 players in the second and the third line to have those extra players in case of injuries. And for a tournament, if you have it 1 day or 2 days, you can easily go with 9 skaters or 1 goalkeeper. That could work perfectly fine. And it is also up to you if you mix teams or not. It might be ideal to play with the original teams, depending on the setup. But I can also imagine that for friendly tournaments or school-based tournaments or any other kind of tournaments, an essential point of success could be the mix of the participating teams. So this could allow players to break out of their internal team role, maybe experiencing a different coaching style, or simply improve on their social skills. And I guess in a player development point of view, this could be a really good way of developing a player on the personal side as well. So we had the games going on for 48 minutes. It was split in 16 minutes periods, and we implemented a fixed line rotation and fixed ice time. So this was 60 seconds per shift. So we introduced preset line matchups, meaning the first line always played against the first line. So therefore we had the most skilled players always playing against each other. Doing so, skill differences were matched, ice time was regulated, and tactical coaching elements were kind of limited in this. So the prime goal was to focus everything on equality, strength, and ice time. With this, we were able to manage skill discrepancies, prevent discussions regarding ice time, or and set the coaching role purely to a team management level, focusing on players to get better with every shift rather than coaching to win. So also being at the Youth Olympic Games, the athletes were accompanied by National Olympic Committee members or members of the federations, and this setting to have equal ice time especially prevented any discussion. So everybody knows the annoying parent at the sideline who thinks his kid is the best and should play more. So with this, everybody plays the same, and you don't have to go into discussions like this. So also here, you might ask yourself, do I have to play exactly like this if I set up a tournament in my country? And again, no. you don't have to. I mean, you can easily adapt the game duration, you can adapt the period duration, you can fit it to your needs. Maybe just regarding the line rotations, a 60-second shift proved to be a bit too long for the 14 to 16 years olds, especially if you play more than one game a day. And this was one of the takeaways from the Lausanne Youth Olympic Games. It was to reduce the shift times. And having the lineup matchups, first line against first line, you end up with similar skill levels playing against each other. And is it in a player development point of view good to do so? I think this is a big discussion point that surely will come up, but this is a discussion for another day. So when we move on to the stoppage of play, the stoppage of play was, I think, one of the most innovating things or different to the normal ice hockey, and the main driver was, or the goal above everything, was to create a form with a maximum of game flow as possible, like Aku already mentioned in the opening. It's this narrative of game flow basically transcended through the whole entire process of creating and developing and in the end writing this 3-on-3 game manual. And the game should never stop if not required. And I think in the end we found a form which in only few occasions the referees were forced to stop the game flow. So we had whistles, yes, we had whistles when a goal was scored or the goaltender throws a puck, but the game basically didn't stop. I think Joel Hansen will further go into the officiating, so I will not pursue here, but it's a big point that also influenced the officiating side. So the game clock also never stopped. It continuously ran down from 16 minutes to 0 minutes, and even if there was a goal or a frozen puck, the opposing team just backed off and the goaltender just played the puck to his teammate and we kept on playing. So it was really a format where game flow could go through and through. And also Aku mentioned the face-offs. We only had face-offs in the beginning of a period, or if the puck was out of the field. So also here it was really different, and it was always game flow, game flow, game flow. And also to have this game flow, of course, we had to have no offside, no icing, no timeout, no penalty shot calls. So everything just we set up everything that the game never stops. And looking at those rules, if you implement this format in your country, I would not change those rules, because this is basically the essence of the format. And also there was no single incident or case during the Youth Olympic Games that suggested a change of those rules. So I would say keep those rules if you play it, and then you will have a very good game. So another innovating part was how we handled the penalties, the minor and the major penalties. So the minor penalties were not assessed to the player taking the penalty, but basically to the entire team, and especially to the players of the next shift. So also here, to avoid any stoppage of play after a penalty call, the penalty was not directly executed. So it was transferred to the next shift. So in case of a penalty call, the game continued 3-on-3. And it was transferred to the next shift, and the next shift was penalized. So the next shift was only allowed to play with 2 players during the entire shift. So even if a goal was scored, the power play continued, So there was like in the major penalty, 5 minutes, you had just 1 minute penalty going through, no matter how many goals were scored. And by doing so, the referees were able to manage the game and the penalties without stopping the game flow. And on top of it, it was a very kind of educational aspect of taking penalties, because the player did hurt his team, and he basically did hurt the ice time of his teammates. And this effect, and also the effect that it was very helpful to the team, showed itself during the tournament. At the end of the tournament, they were very careful not to take any penalties. And the major penalties, we were lucky we didn't have any major penalties during the Youth Olympic Games, were called directly. So we intended to have a stoppage of play. The player would have been expulsed from the game, and the team or his team then should play the remainder of the shift and the next 3 shifts with only 2 men on the ice. So it was very hurtful for the team, but luckily we didn't have any of those major penalties. So going forward, I need your participation. I've prepared 2 questions for you. I'd like you to answer, and we will also use this form at the end of the session. So this is kind of a test run. So I ask you to take your phone or open a new window in your browser and put www.menti.com. So I will show you the question. If you go to here, you see it again, www.menti.com, and then you please put in the code 54599384. So perfect. We see the first results coming in. So we have around 45 participants and now 31 answered. And we see that 2/3 were not part of the Youth Olympic Games. But it's a good number. I will give you some more seconds. Good. And then when we move on to the next question, it should pop up now on your phone or on your browser, and just put a word or short sentence, but I prefer a word on what comes to your mind if you hear 3 and 3. Cool. Action. Nice, very good. So we have a lot of good words, positive words. I like that. Small area games, quick reactions, game on, kids, goals, cool, development. That's pretty cool. It's a good feedback, I think. Still more words coming in. Dynamic, teamwork, fast pace, sticks and gloves, diversity. Yes, thank you. That's a good set of words. Everything is very positive, so I'm happy. I think everybody else is happy. So we will do the same at the end of the session. So we have this test run. That's great. So you can kind of keep that tab open for later. Good. Perfect. Now we go and see. We go to the event, to the Lausanne 2020 Youth Olympic Games. And before we go to the key takeaways on how the format turned out to be, I wish to have a look at the success factors of this event, because yes, and everybody who was at the event, I think, will agree the 3-on-3 event was very successful, and here's why. So the format it turned out to be very attractive, not only because the game was fast with a lot of game action, but also because we had a very talented group of young athletes at the event, and the decision to hold, or yeah, the IOC forced us to hold a proper qualification for this event. It was good because we had very good players at the event, and even the players from, let's say, the lower ranked MNAs were very good. The discrepancy between the best ones and the weakest one was not that big, or we expected it to be bigger than it actually was. So that's a very good upside. And there was always something going on the ice, especially with 2 games at the same time. You sometimes did not know where to look in order not to miss any great play. And all this embedded with music, with crowd animation, with relentless MC crew who commented some game action. It was really really cool. And another big success factor was basically the united Isokey family on site. Each team had a different mix of nationalities. Athletes had to support each other on the ice, but also off the ice to know sometimes where to go, where the next meeting is, when the next practice is, because some of the kids were almost alone there, or were not always accompanied by their NOC member, and also the National Olympic Committee staff who was on site, or it was sometimes also MNA staff. They did a great job. The team leaders were looking after other countries' athletes. Equipment managers were sharpening skates or fixing gears regardless of the player's nationality, and this was very special and unique, and it had a huge impact on the tournament. And sometimes I feel we never had the opportunity to acknowledge this, and therefore a big thank you to everybody who was involved and everybody who was on site and did such a great job for the Isokey family. And also here for some MNAs, it was the first time that they could be part of an Olympic tournament. First time seeing players of their own compete with or compete against players from great hockey nations. So many of you sent us articles about athletes winning medals in the local media, and yeah, local media in your country talking about ice hockey or the 3-on-3. And this event was successful because it boosted awareness of ice hockey in parts of the world where it's usually not such a big thing. So this is a big success factor for this event and for ice hockey as well. So we had a great atmosphere. We had the local organizing committee who invited a bunch of kids to every game. We had up to 4,000 kids in the stadium for a 3-on-3 event. So the atmosphere was sometimes very loud and crazy at times. And I think everybody, athletes, staff, fans, were enjoying to be in Lausanne and especially in this arena. And another success thing was the organizational frame. I would say it was unique. As I mentioned before, the cooperation between M&As, NOCs, and the IIHF was, I would say, top notch. I already praised the NOC and M&A staff, but now I also need to, I think, thank the IIHF assigned coaches who were on site. So I must say that they really lived the Olympic spirit by taking on a team with 13 different nationalities, helped them grow, helped them create a special bond over only a few days. And the coaches had a big impact on how quick the athletes adapted to the new format and helped game managers and also referees to smoothly handle the game. Because yes, the first games were a bit shaky, I would say. We had to take decisions in a split second, and after the first set of games, we were really good to go, and the coaches did a great job with the kids, but also did a great job helping to get this games handled smoothly. And also finally, Aku said it was kind of a challenge to have two games at the same time with so strict in a so strict environment with Swiss timing and the IOC in our necks that everything has to work perfectly fine and yeah, I think the game setup worked without any hiccups, and the clocks were running, the beeps went off at the right time, the stats and the scorekeeper bench did an outstanding job, and I think it was a really cooperative way how we work together on every different level of the games. So those were really the success factors why this event was as good as it was. So what do we take out of this event? So the first thing we take out, and I think it's the most important point, it works. The format works. Athletes and fans understand it. It's very playable. As I said, it's very attractive. The format can be, as such, it just can be played and copied by everyone and everywhere. All you need is a stopwatch, a whistle, a goal, like 4 goals or just 2, and some dividers, and off you go and play. It's different skill levels can be combined easily. You have attractive matchups. You have very important fact is that everyone can make a difference. Each player can make a difference. Each line can make a difference, and this is possible because the strength or the skill level is always matched in this format. And if you have Aku saying you can have a granddaughter game, then you could easily have a female line and a male line and a young line and the older line playing always against each other in the same team. And this is a cool thing to have as a format. And we were able to see a huge development during 1 week. So players were not only adapting to the new game itself, but they were hugely impacted by their team and line mates, especially players with let's say a lower set of skills. They picked up so much so quickly, just because they were able to skate with players they would never be able to skate with in their home country. And as I said before, the skill level was very yeah, it was not that far apart than we expected. Teams evolved. They were building themselves within only a few days to functioning social groups. They overcame language barriers, they overcame cultural differences, and mixing team worked very well, and it showed a lot about every single player and his ability to adapt, overcome barriers, and be a team player. Another key takeaway is it's an obvious one, but still it's different. This format is different. It's very different to normal hockey. The athletes had 32 minutes of ice time on a competition level. 32 minutes, and this 5 days in a row. And you can only get better if you play a lot. And well, here we are with this format. You get so many minutes of ice time during on competition level on such a on just 1 day. And the small field game as it is had a big toll on the energy level of the athletes. They were exhausted after games. There was more game action than usual. A lot of one-on-one battles, small area plays, and it exposed mistakes and inattentiveness, sometimes in such an obvious way that I felt sorry for some players when they did a mistake, because it always a mistake just after a mistake there was always a big chance for the opposing team, and it was obvious to see who made the mistake. So I felt sorry sometimes that it was so it was exposing mistakes the way it did. And obviously there was not much time for tactics or strategies. It was pure competition of skills, and those with quick hands, quick feet, and especially quick thinking, they were outperforming the others. And just to back this off, we will have a look at some stats now. Here you see the shots total of the entire tournament. You see on the men's side, you have 3,015 shots on goal and 2,682 for the girls. And this is an average of 94 shots per game on the men's side and 84 shots on the women's side. So let that sink. This is a shot on goal every 30 seconds. So this is proof enough that there's a through the roof of game action. And even if we look at the goal scored, we had 18 goals per game in the men's competition and 12 on the women's competition. So this is a goal every 2.5 minutes in the men's game, which is totally crazy, and 4 minutes on the ladies' side. So this proves really that there was a ton of game action. There was so many shots, so many plays. So it's good to see this with some numbers backed up. So did the format live up to expectation? And as Aku already said here, it did. The game never stops. The game flow is just relentless. There is a ton of game action. There is no time for the athletes to lay back. It's very engaging. And last but not least, the the athletes had a blast playing the game. They had fun. They liked it. It was really something they enjoyed. So I think that in the end the format exceeded our expectations, and it was a success. So saying this, we also have to be a bit more to let some critic happens as well, and the format was good. It was as we intended, but it was not perfect, not yet, I would say, and we need to change some things, and I will go through some points I noted from my side. We need to change for a different or for another tournament. So the team composition. For an international tournament, obviously, must be slightly adapted. I guess some teams were a bit too weak. I think that 6 teams on the men's side were good and 2 were a bit too weak. And on the women's side, we had 1 team that was not able to compete with the others. So purely creating the teams by using the National Skills Challenge ranking might not be perfect. Probably we should rank the athletes by the IIHF Youth World Ranking first, and then by achieved time. Doing so, I think we would have more equal teams in the end. Then the shift length was too long. I already mentioned it. 60-second shifts should be reduced. Maybe a 40-second shift would be optimal. You could keep 16 minutes periods, and players would have 24 shifts of 40 seconds instead of 16 shifts of 1 minute. This is something we need to look at. And here, if you organize an event like this or play the format, have a look at the shift time and then give us some feedback. That would be great, so we can see how long should be a shift for what age group. And there I guess we can use your help if you could give us some feedback on how you do it if you play the format at home. Another thing we need to look at is the penalty rule. It was not how we handle it, but more the effect of the penalty rule. It was crucial on some outcomes. Some teams were able to score, I think, three goals during 1 minute during a power play. So maybe one could consider to terminate the penalty and send the player back in after a team has scored in power play. So definitely a thing that you can look at, or the IIHF can look at in the future. And also a thing is the end of game penalty shot rule. That was, if a team took a penalty in the last shift, then the opposing team was allowed to take a penalty shot at the end of the game. And this sometimes brought confusion, especially when the outcome of the penalty shot was not impacting the outcome of the game. So this is also a rule we have to look at for a future event. So those are some points I noted, and of course I know that everybody who was at the event had some ideas on how we could change or adapt or make that event even better. And I think here also, if you try to use this format, if you use it, then give us a feedback and let us know what works and what could be adapted on that side. So I come to the end of my input on the format and on the Lausanne 2020 Youth Olympic Games. I think looking back was very fun, and looking forward, I do hope that this format is not only the 3-on-3, but especially the mixed nations format can stay alive somehow, because the power of bringing those young athletes from different nations together and letting them play together at such a big event, or event of any scale, but an international event, had a big impact on different athletes' development, and especially when they came from smaller hockey nations. They were blown away, and they learned so much, and they made friends for life. And I hope that this format somehow will continue. So I'll be around as well until the end of this session. So if you don't have any questions right now, then I would give back to Johan or Joel. Johan, please.
Yes, thank you, Nicola. We have some questions, but it's general questions. There is people asking about the dimensions of the separators and the dividers. Of course, we can provide all that information through the infrastructure work group. We have also a question, and there is a lot of comments going on how good the format was. There is a question, are there any plans for more 3-on-3? Currently, the format is under review, and there is no plan yet for another international tournament. The next question was, with the running clock, did the players of the leading teams try to steal time? For that, I would like to ask Kevin McLaughlin, who was one of the coaches at the Youth Olympic Games, if he can comment on this question. Kevin?
Johan, thank you, and thanks to the IIHF for doing this recap of this phenomenal event. It was, I think it exceeded all of our expectations, with fun, with fast action, competitiveness, bringing hockey players together from around the world and truly putting it on a world stage. Regarding that question specifically, Johan, I don't think the players tried to steal the time. I think what happened is players started to learn how to manage the game and manage puck possession, which I think kind of evolved as the games went on. They were learning, and they wanted to maintain possession of the puck for their team during the line changes. And so they learned to regroup. They learned to maybe maintain possession of the puck as the clock started to wind down towards a line shift. To me, I don't think that was necessarily stealing time, but I think it was managing the game and managing puck possession, which I considered developing some hockey sense and managing the game. I don't know what maybe some of the other coaches have had an opinion also.
Thank you, Kevin. I share your opinion. I was coach of Team Black, and as Kevin said, the good thing is that the players started developing their own game. They take decisions, and they start playing in a way that they see when the change is getting by the end, and then trying to keep the puck in the team. So I think that is one of the advantages that they develop, and they start thinking, and they play their own game. So yes, I agree with what Kevin said. We have another question about the referees, but later on we will talk about referees. Now I want to go to our next speaker, who is Tuula Puputi. Tuula is the general manager of the Women's and Girls National Team Finland, and she is member of the IIHF Women's Committee. Tuula will share some thoughts on the 3-on-3 format from the women's side of hockey. Tuula, may I ask you to take the floor?
Thanks, Johan, and thanks for having me. It's fun to go back to this event. It was definitely one of the highlights last season, and weird to imagine the position where we are at the moment. So we actually got to play this, so it was great. Just prior, what's been happening in the world afterwards. So I put together a little bit of a notes. This was mostly the expectations we had going to the event. So more countries to participate in the top ice hockey event. The ones that know women's game, we've been growing now for the first time in 2019, being 10 teams in the main, like the top event, and first time in the Olympics next year to also have the 10 teams. So definitely we are looking to bring more countries to it, and we were excited about the mixed format, having those almost 40 countries being in the tournament. Another big thing, it was the women in the coaching positions in the Olympic event. I think it was a great idea that we brought in the coaches that have been in our event, shared the idea of having the pond hockey, letting the game for the players and supporting and helping there in the event. And for me, it was also interesting thing to learn that I really need to support our female coaches to be in this event, and once they took the step to be there, they really enjoyed it after having some thoughts about if they have the skill, if they are experienced enough, and how they do. So both of them, the ones coming from Finland and the ones I was also interviewing later on, they were all excited. They were anxious to maybe be there, but then after having that experience, super excited, and I think that's really pushing them forward in their careers as coaches. Expectations, of course, have the fun atmosphere for the athletes. We know it's a top event, it's Olympics, but you also have to have fun to play the game. So I think that was something that we all, and with the support of IIHF and the coaching team, I think we were able to put in for the players. And of course, then competitive and enjoyable event for the spectators. I think challenge is one I already talked about, definitely the main thing, recruiting the coaches. But I think later on, if this will come as an event to happen also later in the future, I think definitely a important thing, and an important thing to have a number of female coaches to these events. So then we can use it as a pathway for the female coaches to be in our game and be as a goal in their careers. Also maybe a little bit of a challenge choosing the players, especially I think the top countries thinking if it's a medal event, if it's just for fun. I think that was a little bit of a discussion in the beginning, but as Nick said, I think it was fun to see the ones that were there. It was a little different in the skill level, and they learned the game super quickly. One thing, gaining the trust of the NOCs and players, especially for the countries that are known to be in hockey events. We know it's the teams coming into the rink and how it works. Now we had most of the questions coming in from the countries that were a little bit scared. Their players are known to be with the team and coming in, and now they came in as individual players. But I think also, of course, the city of Lausanne and the situation of the village and how all the infrastructure went, it really supported this. But I think it also helped us giving I think from the start of the event, it really gave also the players responsibility to take care of themselves, not just, be the last one to follow the team. But I think it was also a good thing to have them being in a hockey event as individuals where they needed to take care of themselves and also helping the player next to you sitting in the same dressing room. Definitely, again, thing for the coaches, building the team spirit and safe team environment. These guys really put this team action together in a really short time and being able to perform there. I think for all of these kids being in a big rink and being in front of the big audience and still being able to perform and having fun. So I think it's really big thing from our coaches to do that, both girls and boys side. And I think another thing with our coaches, we could easily, there was the question about if they started stealing time. I think in this kind of things, you easily go to the event, the mental idea of the competition. I think this was really the coaches worked together in the background and also with the referees to remind to follow the rules and play fair. And I think it was big part of the event that they felt that everyone were treated same way. So I think it was big thing also for the success. And also, again, a great thing from the coaches, so supporting the individuals to be there, reminding the rules, how we play. So I think every day we learned better and better, and the players learned like these are the rules, now we can focus on the game. So believing that the competition will come once we learn it. So it was, I think, the things that you saw during the week, and that was noted from our side of the game. Again, lessons learned. So many countries and spectators enjoy watching hockey. I think it was fun, definitely seeing a lot of people in the stands that had necessarily not watched our game, also performing in a different way that we expected. There was lots of noise because a lot of people were supporting their player, not necessarily one team. But it was fun to see that I think everyone was getting support from their good actions and good things done on the ice. I think as Nick was complimenting the MC team, I think this was one thing, going to an event and also the players and coaches asking like, how is it if we have the music? Is it too loud? Can we hear like while we are trying to play? I think they all forgot it. Like once the puck was dropped, the kids had fun on the ice, but also the audience had fun in the stands. So it was fun to watch the tournament, both on the ice level, but also when you were sitting next to any of the spectators, like looking, so how is it? So you could see the excitement and feel the excitement, how much fun they had just watching the event. And I think one point I wanted to bring out also was I really enjoyed, we had both girls and boys in the tournament, and I think it was the final day when we had boys and girls games on at the same time at the same ice, sharing the ice. And I think this was also a little bit of an outcome from us, that maybe we are a little bit too scared to be exposed for the comparison. I don't think anyone in the stands was thinking, oh, that's the boys' game or that's the girls' game, I'm gonna watch this or that. I think this was something that everyone was just enjoying watching hockey, the players trying to do their best. So I think for me, it was fun to see that even the boys and girls game was going on at the same time. There was nothing in the way showing that one was more important than the other one. And some outcomes, definitely to have open mind. I think I really liked what the IIHF staff, Aku and Nick, and I'm sure, and Blanca, of course, and whoever was back in the background, I think you really brought in the idea of the pond hockey. Like every time we went back, if there was an issue, we went back like, okay, if we were just having fun on the pond, how would we solve this? So definitely open mind to give and get feedback to improve also during the event. Open mind also, question if an old rule or if we could find a way to do it better to make it more fun for the athletes. I think also dedication for the great performance. We in the background, we wanted to do a top-notch job, and I think it was a fun combination of being in an Olympic event where everyone was doing their best job, and still, we put out this fun and enjoyable atmosphere. And I think the cooperation that we saw during the tournament with the coaches and then also the game officials. So it was a lot of people loving the game, working together, and just kind of giving birth to a great event that I don't think none of us really thought it would be this fun. So definitely, I think for us, the big outcomes were, in the future, definitely have like there must be if there are female players, must be a female staff, and we need to encourage them to be there. Definitely keep it as a mixed event, so not necessarily a team for a country, but a lot of countries to be part of it and enjoying it together. And I also love the idea that we had both girls and boys on the ice at the same time, so everyone could watch that. Hockey is for everyone, and everyone can enjoy the game. So that's my side. Thanks for listening, and thanks for having me there, part of the tournament.
Thank you, Tula. We have one more question, but I propose that we will have that question after next presenter. The 3-on-3 format was designed for play, and also the penalties were adapted to play. So referees were having an important but different role than in a 5-on-5 full ice game. The pace of the game was connected to what the referees were doing in some way. So to me, it looked more like game manager than referees. So our next speaker can maybe give a little bit more clarity on this one. So Joel Hansen, he's head of referees in the Swedish Ice Hockey Association, and he was the referee supervisor in Lausanne. So Joel, how was the 3-on-3 game from the referee perspective?
Thanks, Johan, for having me first. And I can surely agree with Tula and Nicolas and everyone else. It was great memories, hearing about this again. And from the official side, it was a new and fun experience for them to go into a 3-on-3 mode in that sense. And I think that for us, one of the biggest challenges was really that we made this easy. It was not as many rules. It was a lot of differences in that sense, and where the officials maybe be a bit caught up in comparing, with normal hockey or the tournament for full ice that we're going to have further on. So I think our biggest challenge was really to simplify, and just like you said, with less rules, the more space for game management and being a leader on the ice. And I think that's something we really saw. The officials that started with the 3-on-3, they were developing the leadership skills and the decision making during this tournament, and were actually the better officials when we came to the full ice tournament for the men's and women's the week after the 3-on-3 tournament. And I definitely think that the key factor we had to this, and I think that what we took away from this with the officiating side was that in everything we did, and what Tula said is for an official and the officiating side maybe a little bit itchy when we go and we read something and we don't really know what to do. We need to find case books, we need to have explanations. But I think that what we really learned about this and to bring forward is that it's not really that bad to, as long as we're consistent, as long as we give the benefit to the player and to the game, we could actually be flexible. And that's the benefit to developing the games and to develop the players in that sense. And I think that for us as supervisors, working together with the coaching team, I think the exchange we had there on how we adjust and how we modify the rules and how we interpretate the new things that happens for everyone, that we always had the benefit for the players in the first room, was one of the key thing, I think, to get the rules and the officials' role in a good position for a special tournament like this. Like Nicolas showed a little bit, was that we took away some I would say vital components to a normal hockey game, in the sense we didn't have any face-off, icing offsides, etc. But looking back on it now, and also when we work with this kind of topic in Sweden as well, I truly see the benefit that we will implement the system hopefully in the future, where more officials will, from the beginning, they will learn the basics. They will be familiar with the basic of being a game official and be able to take more decisions. As we saw on the number of shots and goals and the activity we had, it was constantly decision making for the officials. And I think that that's one of the key parameters for future successful officials, is to make good on-ice decisions and to learn to do that often and be comfortable in that. I think that's one of the keys in developing good officials for the future. So for us, the first hurdle was really to take away, you need to forget about comparing this rule book or this setup to what you had before, and really to focus on those soft things, on leading the game and working with communication, working with decision making around the net, and the key factors. And I think that what we could work with officials during that period of time was really the steps to develop them. And we had a high competition level. I mean, it was not an under 9 or under 10 game. It was very good athletes from all over the world. And I think that what we saw, the development of the officials and the game, I strongly believe that this will have a good impact for our officials if we play local or national tournament on lower levels, and a good step into officiating in that sense. I also think that one of the key things that I'll take away from this was really the connection between the officials and the coaches. Normally, I mean, in a normal hockey game, there's sometimes maybe some sort of competition in that sense, that abuse, and we talk about those things. And I definitely felt that we got a bigger connection here, because there was such an exchange of information, especially with the penalty format, that the officials and the coaches became a team as well when it come to conducting the game and performing the game, and making sure the game started and stopped and the right players were on the ice. And I definitely feel that is a key thing for everyone to bring along to any other style of game. In that sense, is that component for sure. But I could touch base on that I think that like Nicola said a little bit about the penalties is something that for sure worked during this short period of time, but could be a challenge depending on how it's implemented on a local level. And I think definitely that regardless what way anyone would go with this in the future on their level, I think that it's a key component really to make sure that the people that will work with the officials around your tournament, that they are involved from the beginning. But also, and this might sound strange for someone who makes a living of working with officials, to be very early to point out that in this sort of setup, the game officials are not the important part of it. And that could be hard to tell maybe a referee in chief or someone working with an officiating committee. But I think it's so important, because if we say that, okay, we need officials for this game, but this is for them to really have the step in, to learn the basic, repeat that, get comfortable in it. And the rules and the setup is really for the skill development and being there as a gateway for the players. I think that will help the officials to find a confident that they serve the purpose for the game in a much other way than what they would do today, when we have our 200 something rule book that we have to follow and live by. So I definitely think don't miss out on involving the people working with officiating, but also make clear already from the beginning kind of, okay, what's the purpose of this, and what part does the game officials play? That they are more game leaders in this kind of setup than what they might be referees when they have a lot more rules and decision making in specific rules than what they have in the 3-on-3 setup for that. So again, really from seeing the pictures from Tula, it was a great experience. It was for a lot of officials that actually they compete on an international level and work professional hockey maybe on the women's and men's side normally. It was kind of a restart, and it was a cool thing for them to get into a new environment and develop new skills that they might not have thought about before, and that really came out when we played this 3-on-3 format, and that we would never have seen when we did this in the full ice. I also think it was a cool thing that we mixed the linesmen and the referees during the tournaments and in normal league play. I mean, we have pretty set roles most likely in many of our nations, but here we actually mixed, and there was no clear distinction about who can make what calls and what decisions. We had a shared responsibility, and I so strongly believe that that's also one of the key factors to be a good game officials in the future, is that it doesn't matter if you're a linesman or referee, you're confident in the decision making, and you have an eye on the entire game, not only offside icing, penalties, etc. So for the officiating development side of it, I think we can get more all-around and team players coming out from a 3-on-3 perspective and concept out to a 5-on-5 full ice in that sense. That could be maybe a bit too focused on those narrow tasks in that sense. So Johan, I don't know if you said there was a question about officiating or referees in that sense. Should that be a good thing to throw in now?
Yes, I think you already partially solved one of the questions. Is do you think it's a good format to develop referees or introduce refereeing to ref wannabes? So that's the first question.
No, I definitely think that, I mean, looking in my role, and I was fortunate to be on site and see this firsthand. I definitely think that this is, for officials, the best way to really learn the basic, try it out, and to get confident in this role from the beginning. So I strongly feel that this is something that could work for a good elevation for officials in that sense, and not really be so stressed about that there's not so many rules or icing offsides. I think that 99% of the officials have played the game, have played full ice, so they are kind of knowing the rules anyhow, and that's not really what they need to learn from the beginning. It's really about the decision making that's the crucial part of it.
And then a question maybe from somebody who was not involved in the game or didn't see the game. Were the referees in the field of play or in the neutral zone overlooking the game from there?
I mean, since we were playing in the end zones there, they were really moving around with play, just like they would do maybe in a normal four-man system or a normal game. So that was also very challenging for a lot of them, that it put a demand on the skating skills and backward skating, forward skating, and changing. When you learn to officiate, you do that maybe on a under 10 level, and we play the full ice, and the officials, they go in a slow pace, and they go back and they go forward, and it's long turns, and you don't really develop those crucial quick changes forward, backward, that really is the trademark for good officials. So I think that their positioning, working with the play, around the play, is also one of the key things where we could identify good skill sets for our officials on site.
Okay, Joel, thank you very much. We have one more question, and then maybe it's a good time to conclude the Youth Olympic Games. What was the reason for not taking personal statistics and just counting goals? And maybe this is something that Nicola or Aku can reply. And is it possible to get some kind of game sheet of Lausanne 3-on-3 games with game rosters and game results? Nicola?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go. I can do maybe the technical part, and you can go on the social part, why we did not want to take personal statistics. So on the technical part, we have game sheets. We also have rosters and everything. So I think you can write to the IIHF Technology or IIHF Hydro and get those sheets. I know that they were online on the Lausanne 2020 site, but they took them down several months ago. So you can contact somebody from the technology department, I think, or just write to the info IIHF address. And one reason was not to take personal statistics was on the technical part, purely how fast the game was, and we had to focus on getting the game done and getting the game working. And we already had some difficulties sometimes to even track the goals right. So some coaches are here, and also Tula was standing between the two teams at the board, and sometimes had to run to the goalkeepers, to the timekeeping bench and correct the score. So I think you would need around 10 statisticians per game per site to do personal stats, and I think that's one of the technical reasons why we didn't do it, because we didn't have the resources to do it on site, and the focus was really first on getting the game going, and maybe that's a thing we have to think over if there's another tournament at this scale. And I'll give the floor to Aku now for maybe a bit the more social part of why not taking personal stats.
Yeah, there's sort of the philosophical part to it, but I'll echo Nico first, that you can just imagine that in a normal game, when a goal is scored, the referee blows the whistle and he can consult the other game officials and go to the bench, and then everything's stopped, everything can be verified. But really, in our case, we thought about it and who would make the decision on who was the goal scorer. So you can imagine if there's a deflection and the game starts immediately, you have 2 more goals, nobody's going to have time to make the decision on who the goal scorer was. So purely from that operational and technical reason, we also opted it, but it goes with the philosophy of logo in front and not the name on the back. So we already mentioned that if somebody had a penalty, we didn't really track that either. It was about the team being penalized, and we thought that in this fast-paced game, it's not about an individual scoring many goals. It was more that we just need a lot of goals, and you play for the team, and it doesn't really matter who scored the goals. So we acknowledge that maybe there is a player that scores 100 goals and we miss it officially, but we wanted to emphasize that this is, in a way, official pond hockey. Just get the game going, and that's about it.
Thank you, Aku. Thank you, Nicola. So the remaining question is probably what's the future of 3-on-3, and it's a great honor to introduce my colleague from the Youth and Junior Development Committee and Executive Director of the Bulgarian Ice Hockey Federation, Tony Bachvarov. Tony will present on the implementation of the 3-on-3 format in his country. Tony, the floor is yours. I will open your presentation. Here you go.
Thank you, Johan. Hello, dear hockey friends. Hope that everybody can hear me. I have to open my presentation as well because I don't see the slides. Is okay now for you?
I will share the slides first,
Okay.
Tony. That would be a good idea.
First of all, in next 10-15 minutes, you will find out how a small hockey country with a modest budget organize this and benefit from this. Just a small note that thanks to the good template or great template from IIHF office in Lausanne, we also intend to organize a similar Balkan tournament. It was scheduled for last year, but because of pandemic, we couldn't do it. So hopefully soon, maybe till end of the summer, we will be able to make it, to do it here with at least 8-9 countries. So let's start the presentation with next slide, please. One of the reasons we have done a lot of tournaments here is because we got our first ever medal in Lausanne. Bulgaria only once have been in the Olympic ice, 1976 in Innsbruck. But now we come back with a medal from the ladies tournament. Our girl Maria, even she was younger than the other participants, succeed to have a bronze medal, and this was one of the reasons that we wanted to run for 3 months a lot of tournaments. You will see below what we have been done. The tournaments for this year have been between under 13 and under 8. Next slide, please. Of course, with a country with zero government support and zero sponsorship, this medal give us a lot of impact to the ice hockey. For 1 month, all of the TV stations at the morning, at the evening, with sport programs, were starting with this. This is to prove the Nicolas, he had been mentioned in his presentation that for overnight hockey became a very important here, and probably it helps to us to recruit a lot of kids for next few years. Next slide, please. During the pandemic, we have contact with some research companies here that they mentioned that a lot of kids want and try a lot of extreme sports like bungee jumps, rafting, rowing, and of course ice hockey, as very attractive, especially for boys, was in the same category. Next slide, please. Also during the pandemic, this is the back side of the rink. One wall was damaged because our kids and players were hiding to shoot and to practice. They needed desperately physical activities. They make their own shooting center, practicing skills, puck control, shoots. Every day we say don't go, it's forbidden, but they were continue to go there. So in November we decided that we could run every second week a lot of tournaments of 3-on-3 because we also have limited ice here. Next slide, please. Here is overview how we have been done some of the tournaments. I also want to mention that on the small center ice, sometimes we put under 8 players because it's center ice now, you know, because we moved the blue lines, it's smaller than the others, but also was enough for under 8 players to also to play. And of course, we have in city center small rinks during the winter. We make a winter classic, let's say, for under 12 3-on-3, which also help us to recruit players and have more popularity of the sport in the country. Next slide, please. Sorry about the pictures. I've been done with my phone, but of course, we have a very low budget for this, and we use old short track mats. They were tiered near to be thrown in the rubbish, and we repair them. We put Velcro to each other, so we had a great ring dividers for that tournament, and we use it permanently, which also help when you need Zamboni and ice cleaning. It's easy to remove, to install, and it's also not dangerous for players. They can sit on top of it. You don't need benches extra, and it was a good solution for very less money. Next slide, please. We also noticed that small hockey goals are better for us. Very competitive game, a lot of efforts from the players, a lot of skills. So we use smaller goals, which give us also different game. And also we used under 18 players for referees for free, and we used some players as coaches to the kids, which also help to future coaches to develop themselves. Next slide, please. We have been done the tournaments for 2 hours. Games were limited with 12 minutes or 18 minutes because we have 6 or 8 teams, and with the teams which are not playing, when you have a big gap, that could be cold, they could be not very warm up for next. So it was very not extreme, but fast. Every team play with equal players. They have a 1.5 minute shift, no cheatings, and instead of penalty, we were giving for extra excitement penalty shots, which is also develop a little bit scoring skills, and also the goaltenders as well. Next slide, please. It's average 72 minutes per ice for the if we have 6 games and 12 minutes, so we track some one boy, one girl, and one goalie, and we have been noticed that a lot of content of the play they have been done with passes, with shoots, with saves. So this also was a good decision. Next slide, please. Here we have the dates and the number of the players. It's a great players to have mostly 100 players for 2 hours, which was also great. Even once we had nearly 120 kids on the ice same time. As I mentioned before, under 18, under 8 were playing in the middle ice. So we had a great number of participants for only 3.5, 4 months, briefly, with very different age groups, which also give us a lot of recruitment of the players. Next slide, please. And here is a little bit feedback. Can you play the video, Johan, during this is one of the players, an exciting moment for this. He had a very fast change of the sheet, and of course a lot of excitement from parents upstairs. So the kids briefly like the cross ice tournament because it's a lot of goals, a lot of opportunities for score, no physical play. Also the parents like it because if kids are happy, it's easy to convince the players to bring them on the ice. And coaches, of course, they also enjoy it because you see how they grow up. Everybody enjoyed, so it was a good decision to have so many tournaments for very short time. Next slide, please. And this is how the kids were happy with small. We use also IIHF equipment support program to give them some presents. But the most important that was kid was happy and asking when we'll have next tournament. So we definitely will do it a lot of tournaments next year, next season as well. Thank you for your attention. I'm ready for some questions if our friends have it.
We have one question. We have one raised hand. Bogdan, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's not in a connection with Stojan's presentation, but it's something that I would like to say if you have a few minutes. Just thank you for the analysis of the tournament in Lausanne. It was a great event, really unusually a pleasure and I'm sure that there's no doubt that all the staff and officials from International Olympic Committee and IIHF, together as all the participants of the were pleasantly surprised by the quality of the tournament and the spectators and the number of spectators on the stands. That's for sure. It was amazing. What I want to say is that there is besides the things that you were talking today, there is a thing that such a tournament and such event, sport event, has a much higher. It's of a much higher benefit for lower developed hockey nations, and I'll try to explain to you why. Because there are two, as far as I can see, and we from Serbian Ice Hockey Association is very interested in implementing this kind of format in the future as a regular annual maybe event or something like that. There's two kind of effects. One is directly on the players, which means that in our country from time to time, and probably in the other countries like Bulgaria and some others, we have the same problem. From time to time, we have some very talented kid, but it's very hard to evaluate his hockey knowledge and the skills because we are not competitive. Our teams are not competing in some high-level tournaments or high-level competitions, and the scouts are not coming in this area at all. So the only way to evaluate his hockey skills is to compare it with his with the same age players or girls or boys in the developed country, hockey developed countries, and that's exactly what this tournament in Lausanne provided. And the tournament was great, very well organized from the beginning, from testing, from from team composition, and we were happy to send for the first time on such event to send one boy and one girl. And Aku and Tula probably remember me and how I was active there because of that. Because there I was surprised to find out that the kid from Serbia. I mean, we can always think that we have a prodigy here, but until I put him on the ice with the kids his age from the hockey developed country, we never know. And I was very surprised there to find out that the kid from Serbia can compete with the kids from the very well developed countries, hockey countries, and that opened some doors. I was there bothering Tula, Aku, and Kale, if I remember correctly. And for your information, that kid is now the member of Nacka Hockey Club from Stockholm. So he used that opportunity to show himself. It was a unique opportunity for him. He used it well. He had a good performance there. He was invited for a tryout, show himself, and he is in Nacka. That for us, for a country with 2 ice rinks, that is something amazing.
I think Bogdan is having a small technical problem. Thank you, Bogdan, for your input. We will continue the discussion, but in some breakout rooms. We want you to discuss about what do you think about a 3-on-3 as Bogdan did, and what would you change?
There are more prospects.
Bogdan, you were.
Can you hear me? No.
We lost you for a moment, sir. Thank you for your comment.
I was too quick for internet. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. It's really good to have that feedback. And as said, we will divide you now into some breakout rooms to continue the discussion there in a way that, what do you think about a 3-on-3 format, and what would you change if any change is needed, and how to implement the format in your M&A. So you will go into breakout rooms now. You will have a 20-minute discussion over there, and then we come back in the main room after that. Rooms are closing. So to conclude, I will give the floor to Nicolas for a short wrap-up. Nicolas?
Yes, thank you, Johan. We will use the same tool as we used before. I will present it to you shortly. You can always distinguish between strongly disagree and strongly agree. So you just read the question or the statement, and then you play with the leveler to put it either strongly agree or strongly disagree, and we will see the results or the answers directly on the screen. So you go again to www.menti.com, and you need to insert a new code. The code is 66985224, and then you can answer those first 6 questions, please. So we have the first 2 coming in here. So we have 19 answers so far. You see 20 now. You can see now when I go here, we have a lot of countries feeling like it has a future in their country. Like 11 times we had 10 out of 10 points. We have one with only 5 points, and this shows us in a good direction. When we go to international level, also here, it's a bit lower, an average of 9. Some differences here with if they will start develop this format in the country. We have 3 answers with strongly disagree and 13 with strongly agree. I think this is really depending on how ice hockey is played in your country right now. This format is for practice only. Also here, many of you think that it should be played as a competition. Then 12 out of 23 think that the IIHF should pursue this format. I think this is something that Johan can take into his committee as well, discuss this point. And this format is good for player development. I think everybody agrees here. Almost 23 out of 23 think 10. I think Peter wants to comment on the results. He just raised his hand.
Thank you, Nicholas. Just to comment is that after Youth Olympic Games in Lausanne, we were working on the pilot project under the flag of IIHF. It was a 3-on-3 tournament. It was planned for the next season, and we liked actually the way that the players from different countries, they can join together. So we were asking strong developed countries to help us organizing this tournament, and it was in the schedule. We discussed about it in council of IIHF together with Christian Hofstetter as a sport director. But unfortunately, the couple months after the season was over due to COVID, and as we know, this season we were paralyzed, everybody, due to a pandemic situation. And we hope that we can bring it back on the table. We can start to discuss about the future tournaments, 3-on-3, and then the pilot projects. And then, of course, we will stay on this path. We will follow it. So it's just the information. IIHF already plans to work with this format, but we couldn't do that. And maybe one more comment is what we had in the breakout room, and also there was a question about the board. It is investment of 7 to maybe 9,000 euros, and as Aku said also in Lausanne or Bjormäki, it doesn't need so much space in the ice rink. So if this investment could be provided, especially for the countries where you have not so many ice rinks and you have many kids on the ice, you can divide it to the teams. I'm convinced that it's worth of the money, and it can really help you to organize the practice or the games and tournaments on the ice. And the bigger boards, it's not so really hard to install them. It takes 5 to 7 minutes with the help of a couple parents, and it's just more fun for the kids or players, because they have the feeling they are in the real place, and they have borders, they can use it. And it really looks like a surface. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Nico, do you have any more addition, or can we conclude the session of today?
If nobody has questions, and then I will go to the next questions just to as a feedback poll for this session. You should get the next questions here. Just a quick feedback on the session itself. Again, strongly disagree to strongly agree. Some feedbacks for us, we can always adapt or do better. So just be honest. Good. Answers coming in. I think I can give back to Johan to conclude the session with those answers we got here. Thank you for the positive feedback.
Thank you, Nico, and thank you for presenting and your input. Also, thank you, Aku. Aku, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You still have the slides going there.
So maybe we can stop sharing, Nico. Thank you. Thank you, Aku, for your input of today.
Thank you. Should I, the special offer that I chatted to you, should I do that now? So
yes, this is your
I guess
moment.
The official part is over. So I mentioned that there's a 6-day-old girl here. So I'll just quickly give you a peek.
She's so long.
She's out.
So cute.
But if she was awake, she would say hi.
Congratulations, Aku.
Thank you. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you, Aku.
I'm used to seeing you both sleeping, Aku.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the session to end and then I'm out.
Okay, Aku.
Congrats
Thank
again.
you. Thank you, Joe. Are you still online, Joe? No, he's having a meeting. Just as Tula. Thank you, Tony. It was great input, great presentation. Next Skills for All will be on June 9th. So we will present the research on the playing formats from the Swedish and the Finnish study. And of course, you can find the recording of the webinars on the IIHF webpage. So you go to the Development Hub, scroll down to the quick links and select the webinars. Thanks for your attention.
June,
sorry?
Johan, 9th
Yes.
June will be in Riga.
Yes, you maybe, but not us. So we will present anyway. So 9th of June, great presentation. And there is internet in Riga as well. Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Johan.
Stay safe.
Bye.